What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the idea of PlayStation versus Xbox versus Nintendo to a lesser degree, because we just got the current total sales numbers of the industry. Essentially, we now have the actual digits as to the big success of PlayStation and the complete failure of Xbox. And it's kind of baffling, to be honest. I think a lot of us assumed that Sony was doing good, but across the board, console sales, the PS5 is slaughtering, peripherals, they're killing it, and even when it comes to Steam, the PlayStation games that are being released on PC are completely topping the charts. And I want to discuss this because it does feel like things are changing in the industry, and I think it might be different very soon. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, this all came from Matt Piscatella. The report actually just got released here about an hour ago, and I've been looking at the numbers because they're rather shocking, to be honest. Now, Matt Piscatella works for a company called Circana. He essentially has access to secret sales data that normal people don't have, because a lot of these companies are incredibly secretive. A lot of times you don't know how many copies a game sold, or even when it comes to other industries, ticket sales of a new movie, album sales of a new big track. You don't actually know how successful something is. Well, some companies do have access to that data, and he's starting to talk about how big this actually is, how much this really is actually significant. Now, the biggest part of it that immediately jumped out to me is the fact that the PS5 is actually ahead of the PlayStation 4. Now, I must admit, I am still skeptical of this. This is just for US data. Worldwide, the PS5 is still way, way ahead, but it's slightly down compared to the PS4 worldwide. So, just the US sales numbers, though, 8% higher compared to the PS4 is just bonkers, because, the PlayStation 4 also completely killed it. The fact that the PS5 is ahead of that is still just super weird, but here's the extra part of it. The Xbox Series X and S are not just behind the PS5, they're behind the Xbox One. This is bad. This is bad. Now, I know a lot of people are going to go, Xbox gave up on consoles. Xbox is just caring about Game Pass numbers. Well, even when it comes to subscription numbers, Xbox is behind. They are way, way, way behind. And it's weird to think that pretty much Xbox is not really in a good spot. I think they are still making good games. I think they're going to have a good future, hopefully. But I do think that when it comes to actual digits, PlayStation is so far ahead that Xbox is going to keep dropping games on the PlayStation that are going to probably play better and look better and have trophy support and stuff. All the best Xbox games are kind of forced to release on the PlayStation 5 if they want that full price release. If you actually want to sell a game for $70 and turn a profit, you gotta go to PlayStation or you gotta go to PC. Now, this total data is kind of interesting because consoles in general are down, comparing it to the last fiscal year. So YOY means year on year. Total spending is down 6%. Year-on-year console sales are down 40%. Now, a lot of this data is being skewed because of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Obviously, that came out May 2023 and completely broke the internet. Everybody was making big robots with flaming dick tips and stuff. And now it's created this weird vacuum where it does seem like the Nintendo Switch is going off a cliff. I've actually seen in the total sales numbers, I'm going to pull it up here, in the total sales numbers, the Nintendo Switch is completely plummeting in sales. The Nintendo Switch is just going down by a big amount. Nintendo Switch has the most significant fall year on year. Their sales are down 30%. Now, to me, I don't think this is as big of a deal because I feel like, if anything, the Nintendo Switch is just hitting market saturation. Like the fact that they've already sold 110 million units, there's just not a lot of new people to even go out and buy a Nintendo Switch, or people that like want a Nintendo Switch probably bought it 3 years ago or 5 years ago. Also, I still think it's weird that like Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo have such different tactics. It does feel like Sony is trying to make big stuff with big third-party games or big first-party stuff and third-party deals, getting people like Square Enix to make exclusive games next to their own stuff, like Helldivers and God of War and stuff like that. Whereas Nintendo, they have been doing the exact same trick now for years, and it just keeps working. Now, for decades, they're like, all right, we're going to make the best Mario possible. We're going to make the best Pokemon possible. We're going to make the best Zelda possible, the best Metroid, and you're going to have to buy our system to play it. And that has worked. They are just continuously churning out the most exclusives of the generation. And I think last generation as well, they actually did pretty good, even for how terrible the Wii U was. It is bizarre to me that, honestly, the Nintendo Switch just continues to crush it. But the extra part of this is that now we have what seems to be the most accurate reporting. Combining the Circana data with VGChartz, it seems like the PS5 has now sold just short of 60 million units, whereas the Xbox Series has sold a little bit under 30 million units. So the PS5 has now sold over double the amount of the competition, which is still bizarre. Now, I think the question that comes down to it is, will PlayStation ever catch up to the Nintendo Switch? I think it will eventually. I think at this point, everybody that wants a Switch got it. The next edition of it, the Nintendo Switch 2, and it seems like it's coming out next year, I think that's going to be the biggest console launch of all time. But what's extra weird about this is that I do think this is the most units we're ever going to get. I think that PlayStation 5 will eventually pass this, or at least pass 100 million. I mean, I guess they're already at 60 million. God, they're at 60 million in just 4 years. This is 7 years of sales. Yeah, I mean, there is a chance they're going to pass the Nintendo Switch, which is bizarre. But here's the other part of it that I wanted to talk about. So this is the top 10 played games on Steam. So the craziness is that Helldivers 2, the biggest game on Steam for May, which is where these numbers are from, was Helldivers 2. It's weird to think about the idea of Sony having the biggest PC release of the year, and yet there it is. Now, I also find it interesting. These are the biggest platform games, or what do they call it? Premium games. So there are free-to-play games as well. It's got stuff like typical stuff you'd expect. So Fortnite is one of the top-ranked free-to-play games. X-Defiant is shockingly big because I feel like I don't see anybody actually talk about X-Defiant. But here are the top premium games. The stuff that has an upfront cost: Sea of Thieves and Call of Duty. So it's pretty interesting that the top selling games on the PS5 are Xbox games that have been ported over. Freaking Minecraft, Call of Duty, and Sea of Thieves. That is bonkers to me. But here's the extra part of it that I've seen a lot of people talking about. The best selling game of May 2024 by tracked dollar amounts, which is when all this data is from, was Ghost of Tsushima. That game completely crushed Steam. It actually sold that much. Now, I love Ghost of Tsushima, but even I was not expecting it to go that far above and beyond. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is funny and that, it's another Sony W, or people saying Sony trying to scrape together a W. Only ponies care about this. At this point, you got to scrape together a W. I'm going to guess this guy is a very big fan of the Xbox. No hate on that. These kind of memes are pretty funny. Slightly cringe as well, of PlayStation just murdering every generation of Xbox. I mean, I think the Xbox 360 really outdid the PlayStation 3 for a long chunk of that generation. But the part of this that I think is still on my mind the most is that people are kind of talking about the fact that gaming is still getting into these bubbles. I've been thinking about the fact that the success of Helldivers is a lot of times because of the social media of it. Like, that game is funny, but I almost feel like the back-to-back viral clips, every streamer playing it, the constant drops and memes, that is what propelled it to being like one of the biggest PlayStation games of all time. And I have noticed that people are discussing the idea that it is bizarre that when you actually study the data, there is a bigger and bigger gap between the mega bombs and the mega hit. There are very few games that manage to just come out and make a decent amount of cash and then fade away. It just feels like games nowadays are either the biggest thing ever and get turned into a franchise, or utterly bomb and then the studio has to instantly close down. I think it is because of the social media. It's the Twitterization of the internet, of that everybody's got to talk about stuff. But this to me is cool. I think the success of PlayStation has been very shocking in its scope, and I do think it's going to continue. Now, I've made a couple videos talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro. The rumor is that it's going to be revealed here at the end of the summer, or maybe in September, and then it's going to come out in November. Now, I have talked about this. I think the PS5 Pro is going to be a bigger hit than people expect. I have noticed, because I've been covering the PS5 Pro leaks, the comment section is typically, how do I phrase this politely, negatively mixed. A lot of times it feels like people are hesitant to buy another PlayStation because the PS5 was so scarce for so long. A lot of people have just gotten a PS5 for the first time, and now we're already talking about a console revision. But my pushback on that is that I think there are people that are still waiting to buy this PS5. They're waiting for that next-gen stuff. And as soon as you start to see stuff like Grand Theft Auto 6 running on a PlayStation 5 Pro at 100 FPS, 4K, or something insane, I think a lot of people are going to jump on board. I think almost everybody that's interested in the PlayStation is either saving up to get one or is, on the fence, waiting for that revision to finally jump in. To me, I think this has been a good console generation for the most part. Xbox has not released as many games as I would have liked, probably not of the quality that I personally would have enjoyed, but Sony's exclusives have been top-notch. So is the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch has just been, it has such an active fan base and such active community for a very good reason. I think it is interesting to think that the PlayStation is still just getting started. This is still the beginning of what will hopefully be a long and very vibrant and hopefully varied console generation. But what do you guys think about this? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Oh God, I might not post this. Man, sometimes when I put up these videos, the comment section is people just wanting to blow up Sony headquarters, or people saying that Xbox is the vampire of gaming, Be nice in the comments, all right, guys?
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.